My name is Jacob Stoops.
And I'm Jeff Luella.
And you're listening to the Page 2 podcast.
This is our podcast about the people of the SEO industry.
We chronicle the real-life stories, experiences, challenges, and advice from some of the most amazing people in the business. We have an amazing episode in store for you today as we have not one, but two guests. In today's episode, we have Ashley Berman Hale, Director of Technical SEO Consulting and Professional Services at Deepcrawl. We also have Jamie Alberico, Technical SEO Consultant at Not a Robot. As you'll find out, we had such a free-flowing conversation that we ditched the traditional format and we covered a ton of topics, including Ashley and Jamie's backgrounds and career progressions into SEO, their amazing friendship, why they love technical SEO so much, what it's like to deal with both imposter syndrome and self-doubt, public speaking, writing, the conference circuit, and so much more. So get your popcorn ready as we tell Ashley and Jamie's SEO stories and have another great roundtable discussion. All right. Hey, everybody. This is Jacob Stoops. We are back for another episode of the Page 2 podcast. And today we have a very special episode where we have not one, but two guests. And I will let you know who those guests are in a moment. But first, I've got to say hi to Jeff.
Hello, everybody.
A new thing. Make sure we don't skip Jeff. And then guest number one is going to be Miss Jamie Alberico. Jamie, how's it going?
I'm so sad to be that guy. First thing in the podcast. It's Alberico. Hi, I'm doing really well.
I should have asked.
Thank you
I am
so very
sorry.
much.
I gave you the Midwest pronunciation with the bad accent, so I am really sorry.
It's okay.
Oh,
Fun fact, it means elf king.
What?
Elf
Yes.
King?
Alberico means elf king. Jamie means usurper. So technically, I am the usurper elf king.
Nice.
You should be on, I was going to say Game of Thrones because of usurper, but elf is more Lord of the Rings. So.
Or D&D. Do it all.
Or there you go. That's probably a better reference. But I actually don't play D&D. So the other person speaking, surprise, is Miss Ashley Berman Hale. How's it going, Ashley?
Good. I couldn't keep my mouth shut until you introduced me.
Did I pronounce your name right?
No. Yes, you
did.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah, there's nothing like face palming the intros and messing up somebody's name immediately. So, I wish I could say it was the first time I've done that, but it's not. You'd think I'd learn. Cool. So thank you, everybody, for being here. I know in Jamie's case, she's kind of out on the West Coast, so it's a very early morning, so extra special that she has decided to join. I did want to make a few remarks and tell a quick story before we kind of dive in. The one thing is I wanted to pay a bit of tribute. My wife's grandpa, we just came from his funeral this weekend. And today actually would be his 100th birthday. So he decided to not wait. We had planned a surprise birthday party for him on this past Saturday. And we had hired an old 1950s style crooner. We had, because he's Italian, we had, and he's Catholic, I believe something sent from the actual Pope in Rome. We had the governor of Kentucky, the president of the Cincinnati Reds, all kinds of people provided some really special things for him to honor his 100th birthday. Unfortunately, about 3 weeks ago, he passed away and he pulled one over on us. So instead of going to a surprise 100th birthday party, we went to his funeral this weekend, but today would have been his actual 100th birthday. So what I can only hope is that his wife preceded him by about 5 years, is that she called him up to spend his 100th birthday with her. So Hank Pachano, if you can somehow hear me, we love you and we miss you already. So now that I'm a little sad, sorry, it's still a little raw, so trying to hold it back here, but wanted to tell the story of how we were able to book both Jamie and Ashley at the same time. And I hope that it didn't come across super creepy, but basically when we were thinking about season 2, and we were trying to figure out, okay, here's everybody that we've already talked to, and here are the people, and it's a large group of people. You guys are extra special, obviously, but it's a large group of people because there are just so many fantastic SEOs in the space, and honestly, we're going to try to interview every single one of them because there are so many, but it could take years, which is a good thing since we have a podcast. But basically, when we had thought about who we want on, Ashley and Jamie were kind of close to the top of the list, and so we had started reaching out to people, and especially in cases where you don't directly know each other, but you are kind of tangentially connected, as we were in a few cases. You just kind of go through the different channels, the email. You use whatever's available to you. So Jeff was connected to Ashley through a text Slack channel. I was connected to Jamie through Twitter. And then we had found somehow emails. I think we pulled them from Jamie. I think I pulled your email from your website. I think it's not a robot, which I want to ask about that. And then somehow we found Ashley's email. I don't know. But anyway, so we're reaching out and we're in the process, and it's occurring on the same day. And we came to find out that not only were we both reaching out to you guys at the same time, you were literally sitting in the same room while we're trying to schedule this. So I'm sure that, especially because you didn't know us directly, it was like, who are these creepy guys trying to schedule us for a podcast?
Hey, Ashley, these guys want to schedule a murder? What are you doing?
Right,
yes. Let's team up. We're better. We're safer in numbers.
They're very persistent. But you guys
I think Ashley.
Oh, go ahead.
Ashley had just ordered some birthday brunch for me, and we were at my kitchen table enjoying eggs Benedict and something delicious from a local bit around here. And yeah, we both got the same message, like, hey, you just get an invitation for page 2.
Yep.
Funny.
Well, luckily it all worked out. You guys are good sports, and we appreciate you all coming on. So, as everybody who listens to this podcast knows, the hallmark is origin stories, backgrounds, and what it's like to be an SEO. And since we have 2 guests on this podcast, we're going to be doing 2 interviews. And depending on timing, we'll probably skip the news. Maybe we were going to maybe talk about Tech SEO Boost, but I think we can skip that for now. But we're going to be doing 2 background story interviews, and then later on a deep dive into just general technical SEO. So who wants to go first? Who would like to step up to the plate?
Not it.
Oh, you hussy.
All right, Jamie, since it's 6 in the morning or 7 in the morning there, and you're fresh on your game.
Yeah, I was bitten by a radioactive search engine. Killed my Uncle Ben, and now I'm here.
Now you're here. Miss Petra Parker.
What was I here for? I got frustrated with other jobs, and I like to tinker.
All right.
I mean, we can tell the long story if you want actual details. Is that what this podcast is about?
That's exactly. I was going to say, well, podcast is over. Let's go home.
A couple of witty one-liners were like, Ryan Reynolds going to go cash the check.
Yep.
I think that was Jamie's really good job of lobbing it back to me, because that was unfair for me to call not it. So I will get started.
Go for it. Have at it.
I have a degree in art history, which is fantastically useless in the traditional sense. But but I love it. Critical thinking is something that is a little bit tough to teach if you don't have it. So thank you, college, for giving me that. And the first non-waitress job I took, or non-dishwashing in a bar, or non-making coffee, was a sit-down job at a small startup where I had to answer emails for people who were too busy to answer their own emails and pretend to do that. So that was how I got started, made friends with the CFO, did some audits because I'm picky as hell, and knew that there was money missing, saved him a bunch of money. They got bought out by Overstock, and so we got tossed in. I got brought down to the exec office there to help out and had someone say, here's a giant fucking spreadsheet. This is pay-per-click. Can you figure it out? And that was tough. And I said, I don't really like this. And they're like, cool, how about XML sitemaps? Have you heard of those? So the way that I got started is just trying to figure out how to do that for a big site with lots of inventory. I went and asked questions in a forum. I believe so strongly in sharing public information and helping each other. So while I was asking and waiting for an answer, I decided to answer some other questions and got stuck here. Thank God there's ultimate nerd forum environments for me to learn in and for me to be moderately accepted by. And then I kind of hopped around a bit and found myself very comfortably nestled in the technical SEO spot for a software company. Whew. High five. Self high five. I'm still a really good, well, no, I'm not. I'm still a really good dishwasher and a moderately okay waitress. So I've got backup plans.
How many pints can you carry at once now?
Like 7. My arms got so much beefier after carrying around children. So, you know.
Crushing it. Fallback plan is ready.
Yeah, during the dot-com bust, I went to bartending school because I figured the internet was going to go away. And I was like, one thing people like to do when times are bad is drink. So let's go to...
I believe it. My family owned a bar in like the driest state in the country. So my family were bar owners in Utah and actually owned a brewery in Montana. And they always did okay because whenever there is, a loss of money or religious oppression, beer helps.
Yeah.
And Ashley makes really good homemade Kahlua. And it's almost Christmas, Ashley. And
I know.
Kahlua.
I will bring you a batch. I'm making a local New York batch, but then I'll be back to Colorado.
Nice. Yeah, I have 3 gallons of limoncello going on back here for
I see them. He's not lying. People on air, he's not. Dang. All right. Jeff, you got plans later? I'm going to hang out with you.
All right, let's do it. I got tons of stuff here. I got a whole wall of whiskeys over here, too.
Oh, my God.
Why are we not doing this from Jeff's garage?
Come on.
All right, Jamie, I deferred you long enough. Now you have to tell us your magical story.
I did the coffee kick in. I was supposed to be a playwright, which is a weird thing to say, and I guess I can still technically do that. But that's what my degree is in. That was where my passion was. I'm like, I'm going to write plays and comic books. And then the recession of 2008 hit, and call times were longer than normal. And I'm trying to contact my student loan folk and find some way to pay them and eat. I was waiting tables at a sushi bar. Wasn't really a glamorous bit. Got into basically any job that would get me away from cutting my fingers and carrying smelling like wasabi and fish at the end of the day. It's so really, that's where my story just prematurely ended. It was like I did other things at some point, somewhere. I was a blog outreach manager. That was my first SEO gig, which was pre-Penguin. And if you are trying to connect to me on LinkedIn right now, I would offer the pro tip of remove link building from your title before you send that request.
Oh, yes.
Please and thank you. I'm sure you're a lovely human. I've just been hurt before by too many copy pastas. Mm-hmm. Took a job in-house for an e-commerce company. We had like 70,000 products, and I look back and I was like, oh, it's so cute and little, and I miss that. Actually ended up working for Ashley. So here's where our origin story interconnects. Yeah. I interviewed with a local agency in Denver called V9. Did the first round interviews. Everything was great. They're like, we're going to put you on a video interview with our head tech SEO. We were like Team Tomahawk, I think.
Yeah, that's bad racial appropriation. Sorry.
I'm stating historical facts. I'm not
It
going to
is.
whitewash history right now, Ashley. This is real life, and we've learned better, and we're doing better.
I just have a lot of apologies in life in general.
Oh, hashtag relatable. Well, interview with Ashley. There was this magical creature who knew all of this world of technical SEO. Is this like a PG podcast? What kind of language can I bring to the table right now and reenact?
Go for it.
Whatever you're comfortable with. George Carlin.
We are marked
get us
explicit.
both in trouble if I tell the internet that it was love at first cocksucker. So I'm interviewing with Ashley, and we're talking. I don't remember what the deal was. I think about previous jobs and what it was like waiting tables, and somehow the story of an individual being rather cantankerous came up. Ashley missing a bit was like, well, was he being a cocksucker? Well, then screw that guy. And in that moment, we bonded. They, of course, didn't hire me immediately. Most tech SEO jobs, particularly at that time, because like tech SEOs were the bastard children of both marketing SEO traditional style and of devs. We didn't really have a niche of our own just yet. It took them several months to, get back to me and be like, yeah, I want you to join the team. In that time, I like went and handwrote little cards like, hi, thank you so much for the opportunity to interview. I really want to work with Ashley. Please and thank you. Oh.
And I will do anything once somebody flatters me, and we had great chemistry. So it was awesome because it was really important to me to always do some peer collaboration with technical SEO in particular, just like you do peer reviews when you're coding. Mm-hmm. And it's really important to me to reach back and bring more women along with me. So I wasn't far ahead, and I'm certainly am a decent click behind Jamie now because she's hit a really fast trajectory. But the fact that I can bring more women onto a technical team was really fucking awesome.
It was 100% technical women on that team. Yeah.
Yep.
There were two of us. So math check.
You had it too, y'all.
It's awesome.
So I think the first thing I would ask is, what is it about technical SEO that excites both of you? Like, why? Because there's all kinds of different types of SEO, like depending on like different it's like you almost get to pick and choose what kind of SEO you like to do. And I feel like you kind of have to be able to dabble in a little bit of everything, but I feel like over the course of time, people develop their specialty based on, what they enjoy most. So what is it about technical SEO specifically that you guys enjoy?
I like thinking about the evolution of it. I always think of the adage that, back in the day, everyone was their town doctor and your gynecologist was also your dentist. Let that sink in for a second. And then, we started getting better and getting specialists. So I think we're in a really cool time of SEO where there are these deep specialists. I got into technical SEO because I was just so curious. Like that seemed so smart and clever and interesting. That I wanted to learn it, and I wanted to learn from smart people. Also, I am just a shitty marketer, like the anti-marketer. I can't write. Like if someone asked me to write a blog, I would rather quit my job. I've come close before. V9, the people who hired us who were very gentle and patient, they definitely gave up after making me write one blog. And I can't promote. And so for me,
you wrote like 4,000 words. That's still one of the best resources on I think it was security at that time.
Yeah, well, I threw up.
You wrote an in-depth and beautiful white paper, essentially. So I don't think you should discredit yourself.
Yeah, it's just hard.
Not liking it's different.
Yeah, not liking it. It's really hard. Whereas the technical stuff, I am a voyeur and a snoop, and that's why I like the internet. And I snoop on people in my free time, and I snoop on your site during work time. And that's why I love it. I like to go find problems and tinker and figure out what somebody busted and how we can make it better. What about you, Jane?
Oh, I fell in love with technical SEO out of necessity. I was hired for that in-house gig as a marketing SEO, went to work on the blog and all that. But in my domain was, monitoring our keywords, and we were, I think, the second or third largest e-commerce site for restaurant equipment. Suddenly, all of my rankings just fell out. They all just dropped, bottom dropped bottom, and couldn't figure out what's going on. And that led down basically like 11-day binge Like some people go to Vegas and they go on a binge. I went on like an 11-day binge of like trying to figure out what happened to this poor website. And at the end of it, it was, a homebrew CMS. The result was we had to break the site spine and kind of start from scratch. I had to go through and learn about how to map all of this duplicate content together, how to figure out when things were no longer useful. That's my son yelling at us right now, by the way. Hi, Tank Boy. Say hello to the internet.
By the way, I'm super impressed that you managed to keep talking without breaking stride as you let your cat in and open your curtains. That was pretty awesome.
Sorry, internet. Tank's precedent on all matters here. Yeah, I fell in love with technical SEO after getting that chance to save what was a dying site. We had to go through to make a series of very dramatic changes. I ended up rebuilding that homegrown CMS and creating something really great out of it.
Yeah, I think it comes down to that's how a lot of people get here. And that's one reason I love like the origin stories, because we all get here in different ways. And whether you're coming from a technical background or not, one thing we have all in common is that curiosity to dive deep and spend 11 days it's funny. I used to do web development, and most of my friends were on at like after midnight. And once in a while, I'm not online as much that late at night, but when I am, it's still the same people, same developer guys, like, cause it's like some reason my brain starts tweaking and start doing well at like 11 o'clock.
Yeah. So, there's that weird golden hour of technical logical brain that just kicks in, and it's always later in the evening.
So it's fun. And I've spent many, many, many hours just like going down a rabbit hole and no one ever knowing. Like at the end of the day, my wife will be like, what were you doing till 4 a.m? And I'm just like, I don't know. I was trying to get some code to work, and sometimes it's just you missed a period somewhere, and now it's 2 a.m. and you're just like, where is it?
Where's that fancy quotation?
So, and then having that like coming into the SEO side of things, it really kind of, it's interesting. It's one thing I have trouble with new guys coming into SEO. It's like, oh, I want to learn technical SEO. And I'm like, are you willing to stay up for 10 days and try to figure out something that just drives you crazy? You can't go to sleep until you figure it out. And you can't teach that, of course. And it's one of those where we're trying to figure out how do I get that into a lot of my team? How do I get that curiosity into them? And
how do I get that feral ambition? In the interview process, you just give them 2 pieces of string and a paperclip, go kidnap a CEO. If they can do it, that's your new tech SEO.
Nice. I never thought about that one.
MacGyver style.
Yeah. I mean, I was figuring out how to make apps on Google Sheets back before they had the actual app add-ins, and that was a game changer for me. Like, oh, I can go ahead and make all these API calls, and now I can begin to reuse this work. And each time I do, I just swap out this particular piece of the configuration, and that let me scale up. So I think a good piece of learning to be a technical SEO is after you've gone through and burnt yourself out on an insane rabbit hole that showed you some great things, is okay, how do I reuse that information?
Yeah. If you're okay failing 9 out of 10 times tinkering around, then technical SEO is right for you.
Do you want to fail like a flying space monkey in a plume of fireworks? And we have a career for you.
One thing I am finding interesting is I think 3 out of 4 of us have a background in the arts. So I come from a graphic design background. We've got an art history background, and then kind of a playwriting background. And it's like, that's not very technical stuff. I'm sure there is some technicality to it, but it's not like code. And as my in-laws say, Jake works on computers, and really don't.
Chekhov's gun applies to code and to playwriting. If you introduce the gun in Act 1, I better fire in 3.
I just wonder where not even necessarily the technical SEO, the SEO part of it, but with that kind of a background amongst all of us, where do we feel like the need and the passion? Because I'm very passionate about technical SEO as well. Although I don't like to be bucketed as a technical SEO. I like to be bucketed as just more of a general, like, jack of all trades. But there is a certain passion for getting in and getting my hands dirty and, with a website. And coming from a graphic design background, I just wonder, like, sometimes, where did that come from? I can't even put my finger on it, because graphic design is more art, whereas I feel like technical and coding and building websites is a little bit more science. So I don't know, maybe I feel like I guess I needed some balance in the second half of my life.
I mean, I have pretty strong feelings about that after being chastised for mocking my degree. Listen, my dad looked at me and rolled his eyes and he said, "Good luck paying for college on your own." But art history is one of those degrees where people are like, "What the hell are you going to do with that?" So I will tell you that the greatest thing I learned from my degree is to spend time looking and critical thinking, because what you can do is you can uncover individual parts of a painting or learn about someone's life or what was going on in the culture, what was going on in the economy, what diseases were being spread based on the iconography. And when you look at someone's site, you're essentially stripping back layers of where are they getting their imagery, what's the content, what's the history of the site, and how many hands have it gone through. And then you pull back further to see what the bones are and where the skeletons are hidden, the bad ones, the broken bones. I don't know where I'm going with this, y'all. But
someone redesigned it, and it was like that fresco about the well-intended woman repainted.
Oh yeah, the nun that repainted
Yes.
Jesus. We have done many of the fake Jesus sites in our life. But it does feel like there's a really good intersection of, I think, fine arts and humanities help teach people to be open about humans and to look critically at what they create. And so while I have a laughable degree to some people, and I'll be the first to make a joke, I really don't think I could do what I do today without having spent the time and learning how to unravel a story from that degree.
I think that's a great point. And I honestly, I never thought about it that way. And I remember being in college and thinking a little bit the same thing as I was kind of getting deeper. And maybe that's why it never actually worked out for me in terms of the graphic design in college and kind of taking that into a career, because I was worried about money and how I was going to pay for things and so on and so forth. And it's not necessarily, unless you're really, really, really good or a really rare talent. Not saying SEOs aren't talented, but I think at that,
the ghost in the machine.
Right. Well,
we're doing our jobs great. You don't even know we exist.
Well, exactly. And I think, like, the timing for me was just right, because this is like mid 2000s. And as I was flaming out of college, SEO was a great opportunity that not a lot of people could do at that point in time. And I was like, well, there's my differentiator. There's what can make me unique. And I feel like a lot of people ended up like that in terms of looking for something else and not necessarily knowing what it was and not being able to put your finger on it. But before you know it, you've got a job in SEO at that time not a lot of people knew how to do, which made it incredibly valuable. It was pretty cool.
That's kind of
my
whole life
minor
of jobs.
was philosophy, and I find that my analytic philosophy is it's if-else statements. Bertrand Russell, who I absolutely deplored when I had to do my midterm on the meaning of the word "the," completely terrible back in college. Now deeply, deeply value that, because it's code. It's just a different way of looking at it.
Yeah. So one thing I detected, and Ashley, I'm calling you to the carpet again. And the reason I'm calling you to the carpet, not necessarily calling you to the carpet in a negative way, we do talk a lot about self-doubt and imposter syndrome and how powerful that can be. And based on kind of what you had said about the writing and not necessarily feeling like you're a good writer. And I feel like I've read your stuff for quite a while. So like, I think you're doing something right. Like, do you ever feel a sense of imposter syndrome and like self-doubt? And I don't know. I always like to dive into that aspect of it.
Do you, Ashley?
Do I every single waking minute? No, I think that, it's a pendulum. I think that in general, I feel like I am utter bullshit at most things. But the one thing that makes me feel good about myself and about the work that I'm doing is when I can help somebody else, whether it's to solve a problem or to get a better job. I end up being this random career counselor and helping people get good jobs, which I actually, I love doing. But I really struggle with my knowledge, and I had to come to terms with, I'm never going to be the smartest person in the room, but if you're the kind of person that surround yourself with smarter people, you're in a pretty good spot. And I may not be the most clever, but I do like to learn, and I have an appetite to learn and to try to understand. So imposter syndrome is really, 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 really real. And I suffer it in other areas of my life, including being a parent and playing a sport. But if you can find one thing about yourself that you can put work toward, that you can feel good about, I've found that it allows me to sort of keep going. And when I can't, I call Jamie, and she usually tells me to buck up, that I am an important person with, capital T thoughts, and I deserve to be here and I can help people. So, but it is something I struggle with, and it's not even this passive struggling. I can't even tell you. I have OCD, but obsessive thought patterns. And one that's been in my head for about 17 years is waking up and just wanting to scream into the void and yell, what the fuck am I even doing? What is this? And you can probably go back through my Twitter and see how many times I've actually tweeted that out as what am I even doing? Help. So yeah, I don't recommend it, but if anyone wants to talk about the old capital I syndrome, I'm here. I understand.
And the reason I ask was, and I hope it didn't come across as rude. I suffer from it as well. It's it can be crushing sometimes. And for me, part of digging myself out of it was this podcast, going and feeling hey, I am good enough to go and talk to all of these really smart people. And I do know enough to be able to hold my ground with some of the best folks in the industry. And there's just, and it's not just here, it permeates a lot of different parts of my life. And it is a daily struggle. And I know it has been, other than SEO in general, probably the most frequently reoccurring subject across every episode of the podcast. So in the industry, for whatever reason, you've got a bunch of people suffering from imposter syndrome. And I find it quite amazing because of how many smart people there are, that people that are incredibly talented don't seem to believe in their self. And I just keep asking why is that? And I think one of the best things that can come out of this podcast is to let people know, you're not alone. Some of the best people in the industry have self-doubt literally all the time.
Yeah.
All
the time.
So,
and
I think our industry is made for it, though.
Yeah.
It really is.
We are folks who are R&Ding everything we do.
Yeah.
There's very much the chance you've been down this rabbit hole for so long, you come back up, you're like, do I smell burnt toast? You're no longer sure if you've gone full broken Roomba or if you've figured out something incredibly valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like there are times, especially if you work on the agency side, I haven't necessarily experienced this quite as much in-house, but there's a lot of pressure, and you can be the best SEO, but if you're put in a situation where there's just no opportunity to succeed, it doesn't really matter how good of an SEO you are. For example, if a client doesn't implement your recommendations and then nothing happens, right? So I think even the best SEOs go through a lot of failure and hopefully a lot of success as well, right? Or we wouldn't have jobs. But I think there's a fair balance of failure with our clients, as well as success. And sometimes it's in our hands and a lot of times it's not. And I think for me, there are times when that part of it's crushing, okay, what can I say to make them think differently, or to make them realize that, hey, this is actually, we're doing well, even if the results don't quite look like it yet, stuff like that. So there's a lot of pressure.
Well, sorry, is it okay if I hop back in here? Because,
Absolutely.
yeah. Well, and you're dealing with such smart people, right? I might think I'm clever, and then I take 2 days off to roller skate and drink myself into oblivion and come back and the entire industry has changed. So it's very easy to feel like you are slipping.
Yeah.
But I really, really love this new trend that our industry has of kind of coming together to support each other, because I have a pretty big gap in my SEO career as far as paid jobs, and it was because of the toxic environment and the culture that we were in. It just didn't feel good. It felt kind of gross, like there were some shitty things happening. But now I love that people are talking more to each other. If you don't know Mary Davies in the industry, she has created groups that help people and give them a safe place to talk about their personal struggles that I find really incredible. And for me personally, I'm trying to be very brave, capital B brave, about talking about my mental illness and my doubts and the bad days that I have. And I have felt not only accepted, but embraced. And holy shit, I still have a job. Like some of the stuff I say in public, I can't believe, but being able to be out there and be vulnerable hasn't hurt my career as far as I know. But I would just encourage anyone, if you're in that place and you feel any sort of relief from talking about it, you're in good company. And not in good company as in like, hell yeah, let's have a depression party. Because I have thrown other parties that are better. But you're in good company in that there's generally some really compassionate people here that can empathize and can stand by you. And sometimes that's all you need. Like sometimes I get a lot just from going to Jamie's house or meeting somewhere and working side by side without even talking. I've worked remotely for 10 years, so that's very important.
Yeah, I'm on year 3.
Year 3?
No, year 3 of being remote. I guess somewhere around there. And I do sometimes miss having that camaraderie in the office where you can talk about some of the stuff that's on your, things that are on your team. I mean, I really feel after watching a lot of the Tech SEO Boost stuff, I'm like, wow, I think I need to really step up my game, because 80% of that was about Python and machine learning, which I do think has a place. It just seemed like a whole conference based on it. Kind of made me like think overnight I'm all of a sudden going like, I am so far behind. I think it's
Jesus, Jeff, why do you suck so much?
I always felt like I was pretty much always a little bit of a step ahead. But I think there is such a great tech community that it's like, I think the tech guys aren't the ones that are out there like pounding their chest saying, look at me. And I think now we have more of that community. And, with the Tech SEO Slack group that we're in there, and I'm just like, wow, there's like 1 million Tech SEOs. I thought I was like a one of a kind.
You are to me. Nice. You are to me, Jeff.
And now there's just, like that whole conference I was watching going, okay.
I mean, JR was like, and I made my own internet. Here we go. So the bar was raised.
Yeah.
Isn't he the best? Like, I swear to God, if I wasn't married, he'd be in trouble, because good Lord, those brains.
And he's so damn smart. And like, I'm like, people like JR, I'm like, damn it, I blame you. It's your fault for being so smart and I'm so stupid.
And JR does it so he's got that Southern charm too. So
exactly.
Well, here's the thing, you're not stupid though, and I think we need to work on busting that myth.
Yeah, that was me being facetious.
But I'll share my story here about feeling stupid and Ashley really being there for me, if you guys would like. So we went to Google I/O together. My first I/O, I think it was 2016, maybe. Yeah. We went to it, and if you've ever been to I/O, you can go to just panel after panel after panel with the most amazing experts in their field who know so much and are bringing so much to move the community forward. To celebrate, I spent they have a concert every year, and I spent the concert in bathroom stall 27, hyperventilating and having an absolute panic attack on why I was there, on how I had taken a spot from someone who could have been here and used this information and actually done something with it. It was a terrible, terrible sensation. But at the end of it, I learned to offer myself grace. And in those moments where I am clearly the dumbest kid in the room, that's okay, because I'm still in that room and I'm willing to ask those questions that seem so 101. And I feel like I'm willing to learn from people who are a lot smarter than me. So Ashley prides herself on curating that selection of really beautiful and brilliant people. being around her. I've learned to get there myself. Learned that it's okay to feel like I have no idea what I'm doing. Like that's officially now my happy place is an absence of gravity, just picking a point in the horizon to run with.
Yeah, I consider it a special talent to be surrounded by people that are smarter than you. And that instead of feeling self-conscious, if you can find comfort there and excitement there, then you are good. I'm going to do...
It's like roller derby for the ego.
Yeah. I'm also the worst roller derby player, but if you can find comfort in getting your actual ass kicked, then it's for you.
She's being humble here again because she just won Belle of the Brawl.
It's awesome.
Well, yeah, I won Derby prom queen, you guys. I'm so
nice.
Cute.
How long have you been doing roller derby?
2.5 years, something like that. Not very long. It's the first sport I've ever played, and I am an overweight, working person who sits down for the last 36 years of my 36-year life. So it was a trip and a challenge, but hey, it's fun.
What put you, because roller derby is not something like people do very often. So like you're sitting around 2 or 3 years ago, like, maybe I think I'll go do roller derby. Like, how did that come about?
So I have 2 very fabulous daughters. And the oldest one was into roller derby. She had read a graphic novel called Roller Girl, which is a fantastic graphic novel. And she was interested in doing it, but I didn't know anything about it. And we found out that there was a local team for adults and juniors. And she wasn't quite old enough. And so I told her that I would give it a shot and see how this whole roller derby thing worked. And I gave it a shot and definitely threw up like my first night there, but was like, dude, this gear is expensive. I have to do this 3 months. Otherwise, like, I've made a financial mistake, which makes me nervous. So I stuck on for 3 months and just kept going. It's a funny environment. I know it seems, a bit abrasive, but I will tell you that I have found more community with other women there than I have any other place in my life. More acceptance, more diverse women. They will absolutely murder you on the track, but they're the first ones to pick you up off the floor. Constant compliments and encouragement. So maybe I'm there for the ego. I'm not the best roller skater, but it just feels really good to be around genuine people that want to see you succeed, but also are not going to go easy on you.
And that are going to elbow you in the face.
Sometimes. I mean, that's not fully legal, but hey, they're the first persons to drive you to the ER and bring you a muffin while you're waiting for the x-rays. So it's a really solid community. I would say and when we work on computers so much, I would encourage you to get a hobby that involves your hands or physically wearing yourself out. That's been really important for the balance of my mental health too. Anyway, join roller derby, come skate with me. FocoRollerDerby.com. All right, just kidding.
Are there, now forgive me for my lack of roller derby knowledge, are there men's roller derby circuits?
There are, indeed.
Wow.
Yeah, there are. MRDA, which is my favorite acronym, is the one in, it's the Men's Roller Derby Association. There's a great team in Denver where Jamie is, and there's some all over the country. Still pretty female dominated. It's a 4-woman by woman volunteer run sport, all nonprofit. So we have a pretty strong league, but in the men's roller derby, women are also welcome to join. So usually even on men's team, there'll be 1 or 2 women. But yeah, get out there, strap on your skates.
I had no idea.
I'll help you come up with a punny derby name. I got you.
Wow.
No, I'm going to be taking my daughter she's found a new love for roller skating. Yay. And she's only 9 now, but I told her I was going to take her to roller derby and she's super excited. But then the league that's around here went on break, but they come back the end of January. So I'm like, all right.
We're on break too, but Jeff, you should ping me offline because my 9-year-old was the one who got me into it. So.
That's awesome. Well, hopefully she doesn't get me into it, but.
We can always use officials, but it's hard to roller skate and not smile. So everyone should strap some skates on. Agreed.
No, we're fun. We go out there. Every kid in my house has a sport, and my one daughter, we finally found, she's an artist. She's the artist of the family, but we found her sport, which is roller skating. So
isn't that crazy how it works out? So Jacob and Jeff, if you're okay with this, since we talked earlier a little bit about imposter syndrome, I'm gonna stay off topic real quick and want to put a last thought out there on that item. It's just that we've had a lot of suicides in our industry the past few years. There's been, I think, I know there's been too many. One is too many, but there's been too many. So I just open invitation if anyone out there is feeling rough and wants to chat. I am wicked good at bad memes, mom jokes, inappropriate comments, and drunk texting. So just reach out and talk to someone.
Yeah, I would say the same. I would offer the same invitation. Not everybody has been able to have experience with people going through that. I do have experience, not necessarily myself, but somebody very close to me has been battling with that and having those types of thoughts. So I'm maybe a little more well suited than the next person. So I would also offer community to anyone that needs to talk, and please reach out. You've got friends, you've got family. Don't let it go too far. Okay. We've really taken, like, I am so sorry. I've cried twice. So that's twice I've almost teared up. Man.
God, I'm going to need a hug after this.
Getting me here.
Well, I think it puts the humanity as not being robots. And I think that's beautiful because we are valuable, soft, squishy people.
Yeah.
And being real humans is what keeps us together in a world that's based on, our zeros and ones, our HTTP response headers. Yeah.
So is that where Not a Robot came from?
Not a Robot comes from Ashley Berman Hale here. Her bio section of the website says, "I'm not a robot." She was showing this off to me. I thought, this is fantastic. You should take this and make it into a brand. Well, I don't particularly have an interest in doing that. Well, can I? I have to Google domains, bought the domain. Fun drinking game, by the way. Just go, when you get drunk, buy random domains. Not a Robot may have been purchased in one of those moments, a couple of beers in. It's a very effective way to help people understand, as a tech SEO where I sit, all those captchas that you fill out. I'm not a robot, but I speak thought.
I recently bought a domain, lasers and bacon, because I figured what's cooler than lasers and bacon.
That's really
fantastic.
Good. What are you going to do with that site, Jeff?
That goes, right now it's in the vault of 30 other web domains I one day want to start. So,
wow. Wonder what made you think that, and how much you had to drink.
I was looking up laser engraving machines, and I was like, what makes lasers cooler? Bacon. And then that's how it came out. So
bacon just makes everything cooler, I guess.
Wait, are you custom engraving the bacon?
No.
It's a new wedding thing.
It could be.
Market it. Do it now.
All right.
Patent pending.
The only thing that bacon does not make cooler, what sounds cool, is vodka. That I've had bacon flavored vodka, and it was so bad.
There's a grease flavor to it that's not okay at all.
Yeah.
It does work in a Bloody Mary, but that's the only time you should really apply practical application of that vodka.
Writing and speaking. So, Jamie and Ashley, I feel like you guys both do a mix or a fair amount of both writing and public speaking. And then I also wanted to ask, Jamie, how did that video, which you've now become kind of, I guess, the default representative for JavaScript SEO in connection with Google, because you're a video with Martin, how did that come about? And after that question, I'd love to get into the public speaking side of things, but I wanted to ask how that came about.
Dude, that is so cool that you are that person. It tickles me. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Jacob, because it's pretty badass.
It is badass.
John Mew went ahead and memed it the other day. Is JavaScript the devil? And it made me very, very happy. That started, I was doing my very first international talk at Brighton SEO. I think that was my second or third talk ever, if you want to count meetups as well. And there was another human on my panel who was also discussing JavaScript framework and SEO, and we decided to do a video meetup before the conference to figure out if we were stepping on each other's toes. I'm terrible at time zones, absolutely awful at it. And I ended up being like 3 a.m. So I'm in my TARDIS bathrobe, my blue hair is all a frenzy. that the screen boots up, and I realized, oh, my face was like 15 feet wide right now because that's a Google Office. And I just happened to be lucky enough to meet Barton as he had just joined the webmaster team. I believe Brighton was one of his first talks on, and just had a really lovely time talking with this human. We both show up to Brighton with our blue hair, and it becomes a running gag that you've got to have blue hair to know JavaScript SEO. He invited me out to Chrome Developer Summit. Went there, got to see this video, meet an amazing producer. If you ever had the chance to meet Anna, she runs all those video series. She's just a lovely human being. It happened to be just right place, right time, and betting on the right horse. I bet on JavaScript frameworks as being something that would continue to grow out and could provide a really effective user experience. Doing a redesign for a site in 2014. We launched in 2015. Yeah.
I would say that was 2014. JavaScript was way ahead of your time. I feel like search engines, even still today, although they're so much better than they were, still have a lot of trouble with crawling and rendering.
I say 2014 because that's when we got the project greenlit. It took until 2015.
Damn, you're
done.
SEO in 2014. So
no, we were rebuilding the site at that time, and about 2 weeks after Google announced they were deprecating the Ajax crawler, the site went live.
Okay.
I mean, that was we definitely did a flying space monkey. And we're like, let's see what happens. We actually called that project Space Party.
Nice.
So with the public speaking, you guys, I feel like both do a fair amount of public speaking and or public moderating. What has that been like?
Scary. Oh man, I'm a bit of a reluctant speaker and I'm very not polished, but I really like doing it. So hashtag if you don't have production level value conferences and you want to hang out and talk about cool things, I'm game. But I use it as a way to personally push myself to go deeper into topics as well as just to make friends. Because I've been working from home for 10 years. So I need to get out of the house a couple times a year. So that was pretty important. And then it's a bit of a self-challenge. So I had a pretty bad speech impediment as a kid and took 5 years of speech therapy. So as a big fuck you to my genes, I decided to do more public speaking as a high schooler and an adult. So part of that is just a little personal renegade, but it's fun. I would love to say that more conferences, though, bring more people to present collaboratively. Like, I love presenting with Jamie and with other people that I know. It helps to get you more bang for your buck. Again, that peer review and peer editing. And moderating is also fantastic. Instead of having the same conference organizers, if you're welcome, have other people in the field. There's just so many cool opportunities there. So, like I said, I'm not a natural speaker. I definitely get nervous. I am known to throw up either before or after talk, or both.
Can vouch.
Yeah, but I still enjoy doing it and really appreciate the opportunities. But it's wild. It's weird, right? I mean, I go straight social blackout when I'm up there.
Well, Ashley, you also started the Raleigh SEO meetup group, right?
Oh, you bringing it back, Jeff.
Well, I mean, to go from not being liking to speak to starting, the largest meetup group about SEO. That's kind of like, I'm jealous that I don't live in Raleigh sometimes.
Oh man.
I make it up there a couple times, during the conferences and things like that. But at the same time, the community there seems really awesome. And it seems like it's like a lot of helping each other grow. And that seems like an awesome community that's, where we have people like JR and Patrick and every time I go or see anyone there, I'm like, wow, you all live in Raleigh. Like, how did Raleigh become the hub?
Amazing. Okay, so I will tell you that is one of my proudest moments. I guess I'm like a little bit of a mama by heart, even though I should not be left alone to raise any children. But it was when I had moved to North Carolina after my father and my brother had died and decided on a fresh start, moved to a place I never knew. And I just convinced my boss to let me use his office space to maybe try to get a few people together off hours to talk about this stuff. And luckily for me, I was like, do you want to own it? And he said, no, go ahead, which was pretty awesome. But the first local SEO, the first Raleigh SEO meetup was definitely in the single digits, and I made homemade pies to try and bribe people to show up. So it started out very, very small, but it was a really, really cool way to develop speaking skills for me, but also to try to influence the market a little bit. Like I told you, I took a big, long break from SEO because it was a little sticky. So back then I was on a little bit more of a rampage of kindness. So I made it free, and I made sure that there were different types for all levels, that there were takeaways and actionable insights, and that all I was trying to do was enable local businesses to either do the work themselves or to know enough to be able to hire without liability. And that sucker grew. I mean, we outgrew, at times I was just begging businesses like, hey, if I can get everyone to buy a beer, can I, hang out in this corner of your bar for an hour tonight? And also, if no one's going to buy beer, I'll just buy them all. It's fine. But it grew, and it grew quickly, and I can be a little antisocial by nature. And so I had a partner after the first year or two come in, Phil Buckley, who is part of that like Patrick JR group. I think he's at Red Hat or IBM now. He's fantastic, but he is a social butterfly. So it was another situation where it couldn't have grown the way it did without partnering with somebody. So sharing is caring. And what a cool way to start off, my professional SEO career and kind of restart it after feeling like the industry was a little sad. But I left it in good hands, and they have continued to do awesome things. And I actually got to go back last year to speak for the 10-year anniversary. How rad is that? It's like my baby's in the double digits.
That's awesome.
Rampage of kindness is the most on-brand thing I've ever heard describing it.
That's good. That's all right. I got a t-shirt, Rampage of Kindness, that goes along with the relentlessly casual label. I also appreciate.
There's an old 80s video game, I believe, called Rampage. You should just steal that logo and superimpose Rampage of Kindness, and there you go. You got your own t-shirt brand.
Cool, Jacob. Now I'm not going to get any work done today. I blame you.
There you go.
This counts as work. Branding as work.
Non-billable.
Yeah, but it's
oh man. So Deepcrawl. I'd be remiss to not talk about Deepcrawl. What's it like working at Deepcrawl?
Shit, Deepcrawl is the best. I am optimistic but not naive. So, but I left a couple jobs. One that was a really toxic environment. One that was great but just not the best fit. And I was feeling really low on my capabilities to feel like a productive, employable human being. And Deepcrawl grabbed me, and I will tell you, I have had so much joy working here with the people that I work with, the software, and just the flexibility to learn. So Deepcrawl is it's a software, it's a crawler, enterprise level. So it's a lot like Screaming Frog, who are amazing people that make a great product, but it's sort of on steroids. So you're able to grab historic data, crawl in the cloud, trend everything, and there's just a tons of ways to diff the data and filter right within the tool.
It also doesn't shut down your computer.
It doesn't shut down your computer because it's in the cloud. So your fan won't even get hot, babe. So that's, big selling point. But it's just a fun tool. It's really interesting. I've really enjoyed working here. I would say if anyone hasn't tried it, just ping me. I would be happy to run a crawl from you and you can poke around. I'm obviously not a salesperson because I'm really into giving shit away for free. But, there's cool data. So if you ever want me to run a sample crawl, kick it over. I'm happy to do so. You can, if anyone wants to bug me on Twitter, that's probably the best place.
And Deepcrawl seems to have been, I guess one of the first like SaaS platforms to start hiring SEOs, and I see now, now you're going to be competing against Patrick because he went over to Ahrefs. But in general, they're like, it seems Deepcrawl, like just the knowledge base has really grown, which is great. Like the articles and webinars are something I look forward to every time they get launched.
Oh my gosh, what a smart team, right? So first of all, I could beat Patrick in an arm wrestle, so I'm not worried. But my team is really great. The marketing team does a lot of crazy cool stuff. So everyone knows like Sam and Rachel and Jen, and those are people who aren't traditional SEOs, and they are smarter than most people I know. Like they are awesome. My team, we're a professional services team. There's 6 or 7 of us depending on the day, but also hiring. So if you're a crazy, fabulous, curious tech SEO and you want to work with me, which Godspeed, but ping me there too. So the company's doing well. They just went through Series B funding, and I'm just excited to work with more fantastic people. But they've really done something special in terms of prioritizing data and good things for clients, as well as making a really a really fantastic team, and hiring obviously humble people, right? So
that's great.
So,
and you guys always have a sandwich for me, and you guys always have the chargers that I've forgotten or left on a plane somewhere, and I love the Deepcrawl.
And a t-shirt in case you spill something. Like, you do have like the most, I don't know, caring and maternal company. Like, we will take care of anyone. So again, if you're ever curious, whether it's job or here, run my site for free, like, just ping us. We're a helpful group.
Very good humans.
with sandwiches.
With sandwiches.
So want to make sure we're respectful of time. Don't think we're going to have time for news. I think we're probably not going to, because we've had such wonderful conversation that has flown so naturally. I don't think we're going to deep dive into technical SEO. I think we've talked quite enough. I did want to talk about a few more things before we wrap up the episode. But because you guys have been so awesome to talk to, it's been one of our most free-flowing conversations. So I definitely thank you guys for that. It's been a really good conversation. You guys have mentioned several times, and I agree, I've noticed it. I sometimes choose not to take part because I have a lot of my own thoughts, but you've mentioned the level of discourse in the industry over probably the last 5 to 10 years. And I don't know, I think I've noticed it as well, getting better. But it had gotten, a lot of it centered around conferences and whatnot. But it had gotten pretty toxic and pretty nasty there for a little while. So I was wondering if y'all could talk a little bit about that and why you think it's maybe gotten a little bit better over the course of the last, I don't know, I feel like maybe the last year, maybe I'm overshooting that, I don't know. But I've felt it also being really bad and then getting a little bit better. But I don't know if you guys could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I'll jump in. Well, no, Jamie, you go first, because I get to the end of something and I pretend like I've been drinking the whole time, and I will just eat up all the time here.
But I love listening to your stories because you're always very articulate. You've always been a great mentor for me in this kind of scenario. I honestly can say I've been very lucky, and I've only really been met with kindness from people at these conferences and support. I like to think perhaps that I try and bring that there as well. But there's no critic that's really going to be as harsh as my internal one. So I think keeping her quiet and focused on what I'm there to do maybe takes away from me giving attention to some of these more interesting moments that I hear about after the fact. I haven't been there firsthand, so I can't speak to any of the kerfuffles.
Yeah. Events bring their own level of potential toxicity. The industry in and of itself had been a little tough too. So I've been in it for about 15-ish years, maybe a little more. And I did a lot of volunteer work in forums. That's how I got started in a lot of it. And forums can be a really awful, awful place to be, especially if you're an idiot and just use your regular name, Ashley, so everyone knows you're a girl.
Oh, this is true. Yeah. The best gift my mom ever gave me was an androgynous name.
I know, that's so nice. But it's been bad, but I think in a lot of the ways it's getting better. I just want to call out that, I come from a place of privilege, even though it can be tough to be in tech as a woman. I am already 5 steps ahead of some other folks, especially people of color or LGBTQ that are out. Like there's a stiffness there. And I would really like it to be more fluid where people can come in and present and there's a focus on ideas. I think we are getting there. I think we have warmed the ground so much. And I think that I can be a bit spicy unintentionally and very clumsy with my calls to try and make things a little bit more better and inclusive. But for the most part, people have been very generous and forgiving in terms of how I approach that. And it spawned some really good conversations. So I think we're getting better in a lot of ways, and I hope to keep seeing encouragement in that way. I will say that there's one conference in particular that is really great for me in terms of seeing that is the NG Atlanta conference, the Angular Atlanta conference, where the founder there works hard to make all majority women or people of color, and especially women of color speakers without repeating speakers. It's pretty fantastic. And it takes a lot of work. Like the organizer, Zach, will be there to tell you it takes a lot of work. He'll advise any other events, but he'll tell you that the work is worth it. So we're getting better. I'd like to push a little harder in that area. So lead with kindness, but also psychological safety for everyone too.
Yeah, I agree. And having been, so I'll just come right out with it. I dislike conferences, and it's partly because I'm anti-social a little bit, although I can be social, but I get uncomfortable and nervous in large groups of people, and so that makes a conference for me not very cool. I'm just really bad at small talk, and like literally it makes me sweat just thinking of having to small talk. Not that I don't like people. I like people just fine, but like in large settings, I always feel super awkward, which means just by definition, conferences are just not my thing. But then there's also, what types of things go on at conferences with respect to harassment and the way people act towards each other, and the lack of kindness. I've run, and I don't know have you guys ever heard the term conference circuit SEO? Is that a new thing?
Yes, I've heard that phrase.
Okay.
And I believe, if I understand you correctly, it refers to the kind of repeating.
Yeah,
There's a couple of key speakers. They tend to get things paid for. You've got other people,
yes,
like those who are less represented in your community. And it's very real that a lot of venues are going to charge a lot of money for these tickets, and then don't even pay for the speaker's hotel.
Right.
And
so
that's very prohibitive.
There are, and I'm definitely not trying to lump anybody into this, but this story for me is very, very specific to some people that I've worked with who were what I call, quote unquote, on the conference circuit, which means they went to and spoke at a lot of conferences and were looked up to by a lot of people as subject matter experts. But then when it came time for them to actually work with me together on certain accounts, I found that they fell very, very flat in terms of my expectation of their level of quality and what I actually got from them. So that has left me with a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth with respect to what I'll call certain conference circuit SEOs. So just in general, conferences are not my favorite thing, but what I have enjoyed seeing recently is the increased focus on one, acting better, treating people better, and hopefully fewer instances of harassment. I know women definitely go through a lot, and I feel like I've never been like Jamie, just like you said, it's always for me been secondhand. I feel like every man definitely knows of a woman who has experienced some sort of sexual harassment, but for me, it's never been something I've witnessed or anything like that. So I'm always only hearing about it secondhand, and I'm less than aware of when that type of thing might be happening. If I were aware, I would definitely speak up. So I feel like sometimes in a bit of an awkward position of wanting to speak up and being supportive, but never being like Johnny on the spot for when an event happens or transpires. So a little bit of an awkward position. And I would say, so obviously that needs to get better. I don't know how much that is still going on, but I know it was pretty pervasive in the past and super unfortunate. The other thing that I'm really enjoying is the emphasis on speaker balance. I have a hard time when I see an SEO team at a company that is entirely, and I've experienced this a lot in the past, entirely male dominated.
They're celebrating hiring the first female CEO on their team in 2019.
Right,
that's not funny. That's incredibly sad.
Yeah, it's really sad. And I have a hard time with conferences where I look at the speaker lineup and I don't see a picture of somebody with color. I don't see a picture of somebody who's female, or you see it, but there's not nearly enough balance. So not something that I think is a good thing, and something that I think is trending in the right direction. I don't think it's entirely there. but I would like to see more conferences and more companies strive for that balance, and not balance for the sake of balance, but balance because you really believe that those people, and I'm definitely one of the privileged people, really bring value in a different perspective, not just hiring or booking because you need a certain ratio, right? So that's something that I'm hoping gets a little bit better. But again, as I've said before, because I'm kind of an outside observer, I don't choose to go to a lot of conferences. I'm more kind of, I feel like rooting from the sidelines and trying to push where I can in my areas of influence, which are few outside of my own house. So
I would say two aspects of that one for me. First one, I totally understand you, the lack of comfort being around that many people. I've been asked how I seem so calm on stage, and my secret, ready guys? Years of practice with a panic disorder. Like, I have learned how to have a heart attack, feel like I'm in the middle of an existential crisis, and keep a calm face. So repurpose. If you've been through that, just think of it as reclaiming and repurposing all those years of practice. And secondly, there are now more groups out here who are advocating to get women together, to get representation together. If you are a women listener or you just want to support women in tech SEO, there is a Women in Tech SEO Slack channel. You can find them on Twitter and on Facebook. Join in that conversation. I know some really great conferences coming up that have reached out to them to try and help balance out our speakers, find people who are representing very skilled technologies to be on stage and present from their perspective.
Yeah, and if you're a cis white guy, like, maybe instead of accepting the panel or accepting the speaking gig, why don't you recommend somebody else? Make it easier on the event organizers, because they always say they can't, but I guarantee there's someone around you who may be a first-time or second-time speaker, but who has really incredible things to say. Because I think if you speak too much, often you're missing out on that constant learning that you need in order to stay on top of the industry. Or if you're never speaking, then you're missing out on an opportunity to fine-tune your craft. So it's great that some people have reached that pinnacle and they are trusted and loved and everyone likes to see them speak, but it means nothing if you don't turn around and pull more, two more people up. So I would say share the spotlight. And I don't have a huge network or, much influence, but if anyone out there who hasn't spoken before wants to speak, if I could put you in contact with anyone or any conference, like, I'm happy to help. I said I don't have a ton of influence, but I'm willing to use it to just get more voices up there. We should all do that.
Yeah, it's funny. I've been working on a little side project where I've downloaded the titles of every SEO speech for the last 2 years. And my goal was I was going to try to make like a SEO speech generator that just put out a topic. Because that's one of the things when I think about doing any type of speaking, I'm like, what am I going to talk about that no one else is talking about? So I was like, hey, and I can want to play with AI and machine learning. I was like, maybe I can make a generator that just generates topics. And here's your next speech.
I would love to see this, please. Yeah,
it was kind of going to be tongue in cheek because I just wanted it to I wanted it to be bad AI too. So it just made it funny. But so that is in the works. But the one thing I noticed was when I would dedupe, there were a lot. So that was one of the things that there was a lot of that was like duplicate on there. And it made me really think going, and a lot of it might have been like the digital summits where people travel and do the same presentation all across the country. But there were a lot of like the same things people were talking about. And that's one thing with the Tech SEO Boost conference. It was like something totally different, caught me way off guard, because even last year, maybe like Hamlet or one person talked about AI or machine learning in Python. And this year it was 80% of the people, which was pretty interesting. But in general, I love I want to go out and talk a little bit more, but I really love to do it more on the local level and trying to, there's not a huge SEO community here in Atlanta. So it's something I'd like to start to put together and build out. But I just we like to end the show just kind of asking a certain question and just kind of advice. Like, if you were someone who was starting off in the SEO world right now, what kind of advice would you give someone who was starting out?
I'm I'm used to always jumping in first. Let's see here. So I'm cognizant of that. I'm sorry. I would just say stay curious and stay kind. That's it. That's just
with a rampage of kindness.
Yeah. Well,
rampage the kindness.
Yes, a rampage of kindness, please. And I have this. This is kind of gross, but I've been to professional coaching and stuff like that where they say, "Hey, create a tagline for yourself," and that sounds a little silly, but I have one, and I've been using it for over a decade, and it's really done me well. And my personal tagline is "Do good work." So that means a lot of different things to me, but part of that is just staying curious and being nice to people and figuring out where you can help rather than stand on the shoulders of others. So whatever you do, do good work.
Awesome. What do you think, Jamie?
I would say that there are no dumb questions. And when you're in a room where you only understand 20% of what's going on, that's okay. Take notes. Ask, raise a hand and go, what do you mean by this word? Particularly in technology, I've spent a lot of time working embedded with dev teams and large stacks. People use different words to mean the same thing. On half of our value of SEO is being able to map up those synonyms and translate between these teams. Because in the end, we all want to make good things. We all have this desire for those good things to be found. And this is how we get there, is by being willing to be humble and say, I don't understand what that means. Could you explain it? I keep learning, even when it hurts your head and you're crying in the bathroom stall.
There's been so many times I've cried and I'm like, I don't understand. And then an hour later I'll be like, holy shit, I figured it out.
Yeah.
It's a process.
And it suddenly feels worth it. You just were hitting the wall, and then suddenly it makes sense and it's beautiful.
Yeah,
we have a
good thing.
I think tech SEOs walk that thin line between feral ambition.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Geez, sorry. Last thought. Don't be afraid to ask dumb questions. All right. I promise I'm done talking. Y'all are lovely.
Awesome. Well, we'd love to thank you for coming onto the show. I think it's such a great conversation that we had. I feel that you two together, it was a great idea. I know we were trying to book you separately, but I think together it was just awesome and made the conversation flow better.
Dynamic duo.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right.
Ashley,
are you guys
is my hetero life mate.
Yes. I love you very much, Jamie. It's good to have a wife.
Love you too, boo.
All right. Bye, guys. Girls, ladies.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to the Page 2 podcast. If you'd like to find out more about the show or listen to more episodes, visit us at page2podcast.fm. That's page, 2, podcast.fm. Our episodes are also available on a number of other platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, Deezer, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Stitcher, TuneIn, and more. Additionally, you can also listen to our show on our new YouTube channel. If you'd like to become a sponsor or would like to be interviewed, get in touch with us at thepage2podcast@gmail.com. Until next time, happy optimizing.